moving into the grandness and greatness of self as you're moving into your month of April, dear ones. And what is transpiring in your world in many ways, dear ones, as you transition from your month of March into your month of April in the year of 2025, where that is concerned. In many ways, it's more of the same where that is concerned. More of the same actions that is transpiring in the third dimensional realm outside of yourself. More of the same reactions to what is transpiring in the third dimensional realm outside of yourself. So in many ways, we are here to bring you a summary of the actions, quite possibly, that you could take now in response to what is transpiring in the world outside of yourself, and continuing the process of moving into the depth and breadth of your heart space and the greatness of self and the individuality of self. So what we'll be speaking about right now, dear ones, to you is about the individuality of self, where that is concerned. How are you standing as an individual adult, moving from the wounding of the child into the adult? We know that we have said this to you many times, dear ones, but it is now about employing all of what you have learned in the month of April as you open up to the newness of self, where that is concerned, the individuality of self. The individuality of self that is moving through your third dimensional realm, navigating what is transpiring in the low vibrational, dense atmosphere of the third dimensional realm, the shadow period of the third dimensional realm. And how are you rising above that, raising your resonance and vibration into the individuality of self, where that is concerned? It's about looking at the self and seeing the individualness of you, where that is concerned, the uniqueness of you, something that we've spoken to you many, many times before, dear ones, the uniqueness of you, rising from herd consciousness into individuality, where that is concerned. So there's a difference, dear ones, between herd conscious and creating a soul family, where that is concerned. A soul family of individuals, like-minded individuals who honor and value and love themselves, see the uniqueness of themselves, not the difference. Not the difference from another, but the uniqueness of self. You see, when you look at yourself and look at the individuality of self, where that is concerned, and the uniqueness of self, you're no different from another. As you see another, you see yourself. Each and every one of you have risen to a uniqueness of self where you can recognize that in full consciousness of the being of you, where that is concerned. So in many ways, many say we are growing tired of hearing about loving, honoring, and valuing the self. We are growing tired of hearing how we can love, honor, and value ourselves more often. We want answers. We want solutions. The answers and the solutions, dear ones, is in the individuality of self, in the uniqueness of self, in the all-inclusiveness of self. And moving on the pathway and the journey within to raise your resonance and vibration by bringing to the surface your wounding and your trauma, where that is concerned. So you can free yourself from that and move into the adultness of you, where you can look at what is transpiring out in the world and ask yourself the question, what resonates and what doesn't resonate for me, as you raise your resonance and vibration. It is not about you being different from another. It is not about you knowing more than another, knowing less than another, raising another on the high pedestal of the grand, exalted, mystic leader that will lead you to the promised land. No, dear ones, it is you. For there is no promised land. The promised land is in the here and now, dear ones. The promised land is you in the uniqueness and individuality of self, rising above the low, dense vibration of the third dimensional realm. As you have chosen to incarnate into this and heal the wounding, you can now look at that and create the soul family of like-minded, individual, unique adults, raising their resonance and vibration through and employing the Christ consciousness of peace, community, harmony, equality, and love. So your month of April is about seeing the individualness of the self and being more conscious and aware of when you look at what is transpiring in the third dimensional realm outside of you as it continues more of the same. Where are you shifting, changing, and growing so you can rise above the fray? Meaning, raise your level of resonance and vibration above the low, dense vibrational aspects of the third dimensional realm. Not condemning it, not opposing it, but seeing it for what it is. As it will, in your human form, trigger feelings about it. Trigger trauma. Trigger wounding. Challenging you to see your individual uniqueness as the adult. So it is about creating a new soul family at a higher level of resonance and vibration and moving out of herd consciousness. Moving out of herd consciousness. Being in your own consciousness of what resonates and vibrates for you through the loving, honoring, and valuing you. As we said to you when we came to you in your month of March, it's about living your life all-inclusive. Inclusion, dear ones, not exclusion. Inclusion, dear ones, but discerning what relationships raise your resonance and vibration and champion your highest good as you champion another's highest good. So in your month of April, we ask you to look at your individuality. How are you walking on the pathway of the Christ consciousness? Walking on your pathway through the human incarnation in this life, individuated from the wounded child, as an individuated adult who can now look outside of themselves in the third dimensional realm and simply ask the question, what resonates for me and what doesn't resonate for me? Without opposing what doesn't resonate for you. That may be a reaction for you to oppose what is transpiring. See, dear ones, it is why we implore you to have your feelings about what is transpiring in the third dimensional realm outside of you, in the macrocosm and in relationships that you're having with others, in the microcosm of your own individuated life on the third dimensional plane. It is about now moving into the individualness of self. Moving into the individualness of self without relying on what is transpiring in the third dimensional realm to give you that hit that you are alive. Looking outside of yourself for gratification. Looking outside of yourself for the identity of self, which many do, which you have done. Are you still looking outside of yourself, looking for your identity from others? Is herd consciousness your identity? Who are you? It is why we ask the question to you in your month of March, who are you being? Are you being the individuated soul at a high vibrational energy, at a high vibrational resonance, that you can now look at what is transpiring in the world, individuate yourself from it, walk your path, knowing who you are, knowing who you are being, loving, honoring, and value yourself, where you're not looking outside of yourself for gratification or satisfaction or your identity. So as you move into your month of April, awakening in many ways to the new self, as you continue to awaken the new self, we ask you to look at your individuality, looking at your uniqueness of self, looking at where you're saying, well, I am different from them. No, you're not, dear ones. If you're fully living in the abstract aspects of the Christ consciousness of peace, love, community, harmony, and equality, you will see yourself in others. You will see in another wounded individual your wounds, mirrored back to you quite possibly. So it is not about saying that I am different before saying that, dear ones. It is important to look at isolation and separation. Well, I am different from them, so I'm going to come over here with this group of people and move away and isolate and separate myself from them. I'm going to isolate and separate myself from those whom I feel I am different than. We'll repeat that, dear ones. I am going to look at these wonderful and most glorious souls who I think I am different than, and then move over here with these wonderful and most glorious souls and isolate and separate myself from those with whom I think I am different than. That is your wounding, dear ones. It is about seeing the uniqueness and the individualness of self. Loving, honoring, and valuing yourself to make a choice with whom you will be in relationship with. Look at those outside of yourself who no longer resonate for you because, dear ones, your journey on the pathway in this lifetime in the human form is about moving through the wounding and the trauma to raise your resonance and vibration. For when you look outside of yourself at other wonderful and most glorious souls and feel their resonance and vibration, wherever that may be, that may not resonate and vibrate with where you are. It doesn't mean you're different from them. You're simply resonating at a different vibration and a different level of where you are now in this incarnation in the human form. So it is not about looking outside and saying, well, I'm different from them. I'm different. You're not different, dear ones. You are unique. It is about raising your consciousness and your awareness to self, and thus your individualness, and then moving into relationship, quite possibly, with those on that level of resonance and vibration, that level of understanding, that level of awareness and consciousness that is based in the Christ consciousness of peace, community, harmony, and equality, and love, and all-inclusiveness. It is not about dividing and drawing a line in the sand, and this is my line of demarcation, and you are not allowed to cross it. And I'm going to move over here and separate and isolate myself from you. That is what a wounded teenager does, dear ones. That is what a wounded teenager does, dear ones. And as we explain that to you, dear ones, where is the peace, community, harmony, and equality, and all-inclusiveness of that? It is about seeing you and seeing others through the eyes of the soul, radiating the radiant white light to shine light on the shadow, but not contemn those in the shadow.